Hey guys, BBT Vanessa here. Alright, so Mike has an interview with a cryptocurrency and blockchain company called Radix. We'll get to that in a minute. First, let's take a quick word from Compass for a sponsor for today, and then we'll get to the interview. See ya.
Decentralization is one of the most important factors in a global cryptocurrency network. Bitcoin's proof of work functions due to the exceptional security provided by the miners of the network. Today's sponsor is Compass Mining, a company with a customer-focused experience providing a tailored approach to purchasing, hosting, or even an at-home option, allowing anyone the opportunity to participate. If this interests you, head over to compassmining.io.
So, Adam, how's it going?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Having a great event so far.
So, this is BitsBeTrippin. We're covering CES, and we'd like to know more about Radix here.
Awesome. So, Radix, we are a layer 1 protocol, similar to Ethereum or Solana or Avalanche, but we're specializing in decentralized finance.
Okay.
And predominantly, the reason for that is we see decentralized finance as the killer application right now for blockchain technology, but not only for the immediate future, but also the big picture thinking. Like, the financial system is ripe for a huge innovation, and the social good that can be achieved if we can actually have a global decentralized financial system is not only good for people, but it's also good for the exact mechanisms they want to do, which is ultimately to allocate capital based on a set of rules to evaluate risk and opportunity. What better uses there than a decentralized network to do that?
Excellent. So you said it's its own layer 1, so it's not. A lot of folks always ask, like, what platform is it on? And so if it's its own platform and it's smart contract, what's the native, we have a lot of developers that follow us. Like, what kind of native development platform is that? Like IDE, is it?
So we actually have our own programming language and execution environment.
Okay.
And so we didn't import EVM and Solidity like many projects do.
Yeah.
Predominantly because one of the things we really looked at when we tackled, we started back in 2013, and scalability was the big focus.
Yes.
And I'll come to that last, because scalability only matters if you have demand for it.
Yes.
So the first bit is going, what is actually the problems facing DeFi adoption today? And development is one of the big challenges, because the time to talent in Solidity is way too long. It's really hard to do it, and even if you are a talented developer in Solidity, building a secure DeFi application is super hard. It's why there was over $1 billion of packs last year.
Yeah.
So what we help with project development and everything else is that experience needs to be improved. And so that's why we made Scripto. So Scripto is a Rust-based programming language.
Okay.
The easiest way to explain it is it's like a game engine for building DeFi. So just the same way as game development back in the early 90s, you started off by going, what's gravity, what's light, is this solid? And then sometimes you got it wrong. And you have to start from scratch every time, and you go, you put something down and it fell through the hole. That was annoying in a game.
Yes.
But if it's $1 million, that's really more than annoying.
Yes.
Really more than annoying.
Yes.
So Scripto takes all the native functions and requirements that you need and has that built in to the system, but it's still fully flexible to anything else you want to do. And that rapidly increases the time to talent of people being able to build things, but also not just to be able to do the Hello World or Hello Token, but the point to get to a production grade app. And that in itself is really important, because if you get more developers into the system, you get more dApps that you can use, which gives more choice, more competition, which again is exactly what a global financial system thrives on, is that competition.
Absolutely. So it's a good transition too, because one of the questions I was going to ask, it being a layer 1, does it have the same, I would say, concept of like an ERC20 where people can spend their tokens and native assets on the Radix platform?
So in some ways, so the Radix has assets as a native function of the execution environment. So you don't have to have an ERC20 in that way. It just knows what an asset is. And so actually how you move assets around with Scripto is very much similar conceptually to moving money around. If I hand it to you, it can't be with your colleague over there. There's not a ledger that you send a message to update on the ERC20. Money moves from vault to vault. This we call them vault for that exact reason, because you want it to be secure. Now, then when you look at some of the other things we're doing, like ERC20 as an example, is how do you help open source development expand? And so we've got two key things for that. First is this concept of blueprints. So when you create Scripto code and upload it to the ledger, which we'll be able to do at the end of 2022, is you you upload it as a blueprint. Now that blueprint can be a full DApp, it can be a function, but other developers can pull that and install on Ledger. So already you can then start building on top of other people, much more like a printing press rather than transcribing, which is how you would do it today. You get the ERC20, you'd have to change the little bit you want, re-upload. That's transcribing, and think of the innovation of transcription. Printing press, same idea. But that's great, that's very utopian, and it helps you build better. But there's still a financial aspect, and this is the other problem developers face today is actually how do you monetize your work? You've got to have an entire product, probably tokenomics alongside it, successful marketing campaign. What if I just want to contribute something? And so the other thing we're bringing in and leveraging things like the Blueprints library is developer royalties. So say you're early to Radix and you build a simple token swap component. You put that as a blueprint on the ledger for other developers to call by the library whenever they need it, and you charge 1,000% every time someone uses your token swap function. Now that's superior in many ways to a grant program, because a grant program, yeah, we might give a grant for a token swap, but say you had some crazy idea for a function that's super complex, it's taking 3 months to make it, might only get used once a year in this niche situation. You probably wouldn't get a grant for that. But if that was useful for that one time a year and made someone $10 million, you could charge $1 million royalty. So you're actually incentivizing developers to add things to the network that improves its functionality and utility to the entire ecosystem, rather than optimizing building things that will get them grants.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. And so, how would they find? So, is there a marketplace that's kind of a build out of that, just where somebody that was wanting to build and not have to go rewrite code, they could go leverage that function? Is that sort of like a marketplace right now? Right?
So not today. So our mainnet went live at mid last year. Scripto, our programming language, went into early access in December, just gone. Being able to deploy things to Ledger as a blueprint will occur at the end of this year in our Babylon upgrade. And that's the point where we will have things like the blueprint catalog so that we develop a guide.
Yes.
Now some of those may be made by Radix or other experts in a way to surface that, but equally we're a permissionless decentralized network. So we fully expect other people, because this data is on chain, to create their own ways of indexing them, finding them, ranking them, whatever else to help people find other blueprints.
So you said decentralized network. So node structure. Like if people are looking at the overview of it, is it a consensus model and a node structure? It's not assuming proof of work. It's probably something.
It's proof of stake. So it's a proof of stake network. At the moment, the mainnet is a single shard, which I'll explain about our scalability later. But the current basis we have a validator set of 100, which is purely ranked based on the amount of stakes they have from our token holders. We currently have about over $1 billion worth of token staked onto the network. And one of the reasons we're rolling out our roadmap in the way we are is because to us it's very important to build the strong foundations you need to be able to leverage that up. And we're building everything from the point of what would you need to support a $300 trillion global financial system. Work backwards from there. And so having a secure foundation of network support, having the language out before contracts are deployable is important so people can learn how to use it. They can start building those core functionality blocks that are needed for a DeFi ecosystem to thrive when we roll that out. And it's very much taking that strategic approach at each step to make sure that we are actually serving and giving builders everything they need to be able to build this ecosystem.
Great. I'll start to wrap up here, but one of the things that I know people are going to ask when you watch this video is like, how would somebody go out and interact right now? Like if you have just a landing page come out, and do they go to a website? How do they get a wallet? How does that all work?
So at the moment we've got a desktop wallet where you can be a token holding, participate in staking, sending simple transactions. If you're a developer, then developers.radixdlt.com is our developer hub. Went live, as I said, in December. That's where you can learn all about crypto. We're doing a lot of promotion of that this quarter and next. We're starting to build that up, so there's lots of learning materials. You can go and download the compiler, get started, and really start actually running a local simulation environment of DeFi building using crypto.
That's great. Well, I think we've covered quite a bit of content here. We always usually roll some other detail along with this whenever we do a video like this. So, no, I want to thank you for your time, and it's very interesting, to see the way you guys are doing that with your own, development ecosystem. Because there is a lot of, folks that came out and said, split is very hard, and then you're also dealing with, very high fees, with like Ethereum right now. So,
and a big part of that scalability.
Yeah.
And this is again something where Radix is unique. So we have our own consensus algorithm. Cerberus. So Cerberus uses a massively sharded environment. So 2 to the power of 256 shards. That's more shards than every hash world. But the problem with most sharding solutions is they lose something called atomic closability. And that is if you had an exchange on one shard and another exchange on another, and you had an arbitrage, they wouldn't be synchronous. So then what do? You lock up funds, you roll back, you miss the arb opportunity, which then makes the market less efficient. What you need with Radix is we have a system called grading, which basically brings shards together dynamically when they're needed to interact with a single transaction to maintain that atomic composability and then split apart. And because there's so many shards when we roll out our GAP release, that when they're brought together and behave as one shard, they have the same limitations as a single shard. But because there's so many and there's so much parallelization, it's not like you're putting a DApp on a shard. It's like you put every single wallet on its own shard, every single liquidity pool on its own shard within a DApp, and still have ample room to spare. And that's how we can scale to millions plus transactions per second to make sure things like fees always stay low, but also so they can be one unified network for the entire global financial system.
I would love to see kind of a diagram of that structure. And you guys have that kind of concept?
Yeah, so we've got everything from a infographic series about how Cerberus through to an academic white paper. We work with the University of California, Davis. They've done an independent paper doing basically the map proof of our scalability solutions for atomic transposability. Plus we've got a whole load of knowledge-based articles on pretty much everything from crypto to our plans for white paper on DeFi, for example, on how to make DeFi on Radix will work, and that's all available on our website.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you for your time, Adam.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. And I'm interested to take a look and see. Is it the native token on there that runs everything? Is it Radix?
XRD.
XRD.
So it's Radix. It's on many exchanges already. There's also an ERC20 version of it, which is always one-to-one swappable, which is EXRD, and there are all the details of that on the site as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Adam, for that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mike.
Yeah, great.
Pleasure.
Thank you.